wanna stay ahead of the curve, then follow my words. All we doing is train, innovate, solve, yeah. These train, innovate, solve. If you wanna be ahead of the curve, then follow my words.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. To TTIS, where we build confident, empowered educators through empathy, strategy, giving you practical tools that you can use today. And our subject is still SPED domain 4, SPED 186, domain 4, where we're going to learn all about collaborating as a team. And I want to start our conversation now by a comparison of sorts, because I think it will frame the conversation really well. Imagine two teachers, same campus, same students, same IEP. And one teacher that says, I sent the emails, I did my part. While the other teacher says, let's sit down and figure out what this student actually needs next. Same situation, everybody, but completely different outcomes. And here's the truth. Domain 4 is not about being nice. It's about being strategic and how you work with others to move your students forward. And on this exam and in real classrooms, you're not working alone. You're not the only decision maker, and you are not the only support that this student may need. So tonight, we're going to discuss ways that actually can help you. Help you to understand what the test is asking you for, avoiding some of the mistakes that I've seen that are common, and most importantly, know what to do when collaboration shows up in these questions. So let's, jump right into what we intend to do tonight. And that is two main focuses. So this is domain 4. Two main focuses are going to be consultation and collaboration. I'm going to give you 2 keys for success. And then professional learning and responsibility. Well, I'll walk you through 4 keys to be successful. The SPED 186 exam, domain 4's actual title is Professional Collaboration, Learning and Responsibilities. And this makes up 18% of the exam. And inside of the domains are 2 of the major focuses that I mentioned here. And I want you to center your thoughts around not just who's on the team, but how you work with the team to support the students. Asking yourself, how do I work with others to improve the outcomes for the students that I serve? And this question is going to be presented in various ways. And that's our goal tonight, that you wrap your mind around not just communicating, but collaborating with purpose. Leading us right into one of the central 2 keys that I'm going to talk about. And the first is that your collaboration is always tied to student needs. If the answers and the questions don't connect the students to the need, they're going to be incorrect. It should connect back to instruction, behavior, access, and progress. And if it doesn't, it's probably wrong. Every conversation, plan, or decision should directly connect to what the student needs to access learning, be it to improve behavior or just simply making progress toward their IEP goal. If the collaboration doesn't lead to a clear support, strategy, or change for the student within those questions, it's not effective collaboration. Then goes to my second key here. that collaboration is different depending on who you're working with. And exactly what do I mean by this? Well, when you're working with families, it's going to look different than it is going to look if you're working with professionals. With families, you want to be clear and respectful communication. You also want to be cognizant of and utilizing culturally responsive approaches and focused on student progress, not a bunch of jargon, because we know that this profession has 1,001 acronyms. And just throwing that at your parents is not helpful. So if one of the choices are for you to send home a report, I'm going to say that's the wrong thinking. The right thinking is for you to engage the family in understanding and supporting progress. And that often means that some of the things that they're going to receive has to have an explanation, a further explanation with it. And then there's working with a general education teacher, different than working with a family. You are co-planning with them, co-teaching, and sharing the responsibility. This is going to be big on this exam. And my honest opinion, it's big with the profession that you're seeking to dive into, because you're not a helper and you are a partner in this effort to help to advance your students. Then maybe the other aspect is in regards to the other specialists that serve, like the SLP, which is the speech learning pathologist, or maybe the child is receiving OT services or behavior. You want to align the services with the instruction, and you want to use their expertise to adjust the support that you provide, because each provider brings a different expertise and the priority shifts based on that student's needs. Because again, an IEP is an individualized educational plan. It has a purpose. It has a reason that it needs to play out. And we have to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And then the other particular portion that you might be working with, and that's with paraprofessionals that serve special education students. This is where many people miss the points, because you are responsible for training them, clear expectations, and monitoring the implementation of whatever their portion is within the plan. Not just assigning tasks. These individuals are a vital part of the services rendered. And the team must align around what the students needs most. So here's a test tip that I want you to walk away from or walk away with. If an answer choice shows a one-way communication, it's usually a distractor. The SPED 186 exam, it prefers active collaboration, shared decision-making, and implementation that is aligned with the goals. So let's try an example together. In scenario number 1 that I'm going to pose to you tonight, it states that a student with autism is struggling with the transition between activities and frequently becomes upset during schedule changes. The special education teacher and the general education teacher have discussed this issue, but the behavior, it hasn't stopped, it continues. And my question to you is, what is the most appropriate next step? Because as I stated before about these distractors, they're going to throw some good ones at you. They're going to sound right. It's going to be things like remind the student of the expectation, contact the parents immediately, reduce transitions. And to be really honest with you, depending on the depth of the question, These might be necessary. But just here for this snapshot, ask yourself, have you collaborated deeply enough to change the outcome? And then when you look at your answer choices, you're looking for best answers that include something like co-planning, providing the structured transition support for them, using visual schedules, or the possibility of aligning strategies across for both of the teachers involved. Because here, the issue is not awareness, it's implementation across the settings. And if you've looked at these distractors and they kind of seem like they could go with you or you could go with them, I want you to know that they might actually sound right. You're really not alone. That this is exactly where people get stuck. And it's not always a content gap. It's a decision-making gap. And 90 questions along with an essay can wear you out. I mean, the fatigue is really real when you're taking these exams, practice or the actual exam. And if you've taken a SPED diagnostic, you're looking at your scores and you're thinking, I don't even know what this means, or where do I start next? Because you've gotten your results back and you're not sure where to go. That's why we've created the TExES Blueprint Session. We walk with you through your results and map out exactly what you need to focus on. No guessing. And if you're ready for more structured support, our next spring SPED 186 cohort, it starts on April the 21st. I'm going to leave the details down in the show notes for you. Once you understand how to approach these questions and your gaps are filled in regard to the special education process and procedures, everything will start to shift and your confidence starts to follow. So I want to continue to build on that confidence and that understanding of this exam by walking right into the next part. The 4 major keys that I think you need to focus on in regards to professional learning and responsibilities. The exam's a little bit more subtle in this section because they'll ask you questions like, does the teacher understand their role and take responsibility for growth and advocacy? But they're not going to ask you straight out like I just did. This one has 4 core areas that you need to know. You need to know your responsibility as a SPED teacher. You're the instructor, case manager, collaborator, and advocate. You're not just a support staff that we often hear you to be. Yes, that's the coding, the label within a school building. But you are operating chiefly in their individualized educational plan. The second thing I want to note that you must be an advocate because advocacy here matters. And this is where the test starts to ask you deliberate questions centered around this thought. That you are going to see them in scenarios where a student is not receiving accommodations. They're not going to say it straight out. They're going to linger around it, hint about it. Or maybe a team is misunderstanding the least restricted environment. A family that's not being included in the actual special education process. The correct answers are going to protect the students' rights and their access all the time. And then you and your professional growth. The test expects you to reflect on the student data, adjust your practices if need be, and set goals that move the student academically or in their functional behavior if there is an issue in that area. And you have to be clear about those things so that you are not wavering or lingering on answers that are there, put strategically there to distract you or throw you off course. And as I said before, when you're laboring and you're laboring a lot through those 90 questions, that's going to cause you to be fatigued. Anytime we're fatigued, we make careless mistakes. The last key here is understanding barriers. And this, again, is a big one. Students may face linguistic barriers, cultural barriers, or system barriers. And your role is to recognize them and address them. How can you address them? That's where this collaboration and advocacy portion comes in. So again, I always want to apply this new thinking, this ideas that I am asking you to dive deep into. And so here is our second scenario. I am purposeful that I do not provide ABCD choices. I simply want to change your thought and to help you to really see how they're driving the questions per domain. So in this question, the student's IEP includes accommodations that are not consistently implemented in the general education classroom. The teacher notices the student's performance declining. What's your responsibility as a special education specialist? The best answers are going to include collaborating with the general education teacher and ensuring that your IEP is done with fidelity. Because this is not a student issue. This one is a system and accountability issue. And yes, they're going to put in those distractors. I've said it before. I'm going to keep pointing them out so that you notice them and you don't choose them. They're going to say things like provide the student with extra help after school or modify the assignment independently. Both of those are either saying they need more practice or is saying that to lessen what is required. And no, we're not going for that. We're not reaching for that. But we want to advocate for implementation here. So again, I always want to clear up any confusion. I want to make certain that you are clear about what they're going to be asking you and the way they might potentially ask you. And then my last kind of points that I want to put across here is that the common mistakes that sometimes I see in this particular domain. And I think it's worthy to be cleared up here. So if you're choosing answers that talk about sending emails to those who are helping to service them, that's just not enough. Or maybe you're ignoring your leadership role. You can't be passive in this process. You're a key player here. And then if strategies are not consistent across the settings, they aren't going to work. And we are looking to be able to measure, consistently measure and see the progress of our students, making gains toward the goals that we've set. And so domain 4 is where the instruction becomes collective. Plans become action and teams become aligned. And when they're done properly, students can make the progress that I mentioned before. And that's truly what we're trying to do. And if you can master, really get down to the nitty-gritty of the questions, you won't spend so much time deliberating when it's time to approach these 90 questions. And if this helped you, I'm asking you to do 2 things here. The first, of course, is to join us We have a great community that we provide, and we also have a couple of different options for you to be able to join in with us. First, I want you to hit that subscribe button and like this video because it expands our reach. I need your help in doing that. And then check for the links in the description to schedule either the TExES Blueprint session that you see on your screen or join our SPED 186 cohort waiting list. Our next cohort starts on April the 21st. And of course, we're going to share more information with you about it through that link. Because we don't want to just review content. I'm here reviewing the domains for you. But of course, we go much, much deeper in our conversations because we want to help you to understand your true role, and that's to be a specialist. The help that we're providing is for you to be able to think like the exam, not just to pass the exam, but to excel in your field. As always, I am grateful that you have met us here. You made choice to land on our channel tonight, and I'm grateful for it. Love it if you would, as I said before, subscribe or like or share this video with someone that you know. Maybe you're not progressing toward the exam, but you know that they're a new teacher and they're in their field, but they need some support. Share this with them. We have our website listed on the screen, our email where we provide more information, and then opportunities for you to join our mailing list or the cohorts and the blueprint session that we talked about. All of our social media platforms that we're most active with are on your screen. My name is Tamara Gibson. I'm the CEO and owner of TT Innovative Solutions. And I am grateful that you spent some time with me tonight. All right, everyone. We're on Domain 5, which is the newest, coming up next week. And I have something special for that as well, because I think that a lot of people just want to focus on that area. And we have an offering for that too. Okay, everyone. Have a great evening. And I will see you here again next Monday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Whether we're recorded or live, we're giving our heart to this, my beloved profession. Have a great evening.